Okay, picture this if you can. The year is 1982, your local arcade is in full swing, and there are crowds around the Dig Dug and Donkey Kong Jr. cabinets. A shiny new cabinet pops up in arcades. The front, colorful and vibrant. The sides, silver with a massive 2084 printed on them. This is Robotron 2084, more commonly known as just Robotron. And yeah, it's very primitive, but it's a product of its time, releasing during the year where arcade gaming was at its absolute peak. Games had sound design that was still in its infancy, very blocky graphics, and essentially no narrative aside from a paragraph or two in the manual. High scores and bragging rights were the only goal in these games. For reference, the NES didn't see a widespread North American release until 3 years later in 1985. Most of my time spent in arcades took place during the late 90s and early 2000s, where we had games like Big Game Hunter, Crimson Skies, Silent Scope, and San Francisco Rush. And even though 80s arcade games are a bit outside my area of interest, I did play 2084 on the Atari when I was really young. But more so, I played the sequel, Robotron 64, quite a lot. And I use the term sequel loosely because they're both essentially the exact same game, only one is more technologically advanced. As the name suggests, Robotron 64 is on, well, the Nintendo 64. The North American version was released in 1998 and developed by Crave Entertainment. Crave are the people behind many critically acclaimed titles, including Baby Pals on DS, along with its riveting companion piece, Per Pals. All jokes aside, they seem to make bad games almost exclusively, with a few exceptions of course. Looking over the list of games just reminds me of a bargain bin from a going out of business electronics store. It's just a messy pile of dusty yet sticky cases. You'd search all day in hopes of finding that one gem at the bottom of the shit pile, but all you'd end up finding are endless copies of the 6 poker games they made, along with a bunch of religious and educational games. Oh, holy shit, these guys made Brunswick Pro Bowling? And wouldn't you know it, I actually own this one. You know what, screw it. While we're here, let's pop this one in real quick and see what it's like.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never.
But I've ranted long enough about the developer. It's never fair to kick someone while they're down. I mean, technically they've been down since 2012 due to bankruptcy, but oh no, I was really excited to play the wildly anticipated Xbox 360 version of Pro Bull Riders out of the chute. Yeah, it's a real game, look it up. Anyway, Robotron 64 is very simple in concept. You run around square rooms, saving people and shooting robots, with each room becoming slightly more difficult than the last. It has all the hallmarks of an old arcade game, like high scores, free guys, and power-ups. There are 200 levels for you to fight through. Every 10, the floor changes. Every 20 or so, there's a bonus stage. And wouldn't you know it, there's actually a story to this game. It's a very shallow story, but a story nonetheless. You play as a mutant scientist named Eugene. You know, initially I didn't know his name is Eugene and I was gonna give him a name like Larry or something, but Eugene's funny enough. Anyway, your objective is to save the last human family, and your mutant powers allow you to stand up to the robots. But how big is this family? What, are we saving every single relative, second cousin, and friend of the family? Or are they one of those families who just multiplied and never left the small town, took it over, and now it's called Jonesville or something? There are so many of them. Now I get it, this is a way to get points, but I'm gonna bitch regardless. On your noble and valiant quest to save said last human family, you'll blast through hordes of different robots, including mushroom bots, Beyblades, colored rings, floating bars of soap, and what I can only assume are vacuum cleaners that shoot bubbles. Enemy variety is fairly basic in these games. You have punchy bots, shooty bots, and spawny bots. All of them do as their names suggest, with different colors signifying how tough they are. pretty standard stuff really. Now Robotron 64 isn't really that difficult at first, due to how snappy and responsive the controls are. And I feel like they really got this right, and it gets better once you get used to only being able to shoot in 8 directions. That's not to say the game's easy, cause it's not. It becomes downright insane in later levels where there's just so much shit on the screen all at once, making it incredibly hard to tell what's going on. And add on to that the loud, obnoxious, and constant music mixed with the sounds of robots and people dying plus non-stop shooting. It becomes a real headache after a while. I'm not kidding either, I had to lay down a bit while recording for this video. It's that bad. But beyond that, there isn't much else to say about Robotron 64. It's a relatively simple game, even by N64 standards. But before we all go back to our cat videos and TikTok, there's one more Robotron game I own that we might as well take a look at. I mean, we're all here anyway, so why not? This is Robotron X. It was released in 1996 and developed by Midway for the PS1 and Windows. And in comparison to Robotron 64, it controls about the same but performs significantly worse. I hate the camera in this game. It follows you just like the one on N64, only in this one, the camera zooms way too close sometimes, so I always get killed by shit flying from off screen. But at the end of the day, Robotron X is the same as Robotron 64 and 2084. That is good old-fashioned arcade fun with the entry fee of a headache. So in short, the Robotron games are very frustrating, but still fun to play. I do enjoy the original even though it's insanely difficult, but my favorite would have to be the N64 version. Do any of you remember Robotron? If so, which iteration was your favorite? And has anyone actually finished any of them? I'm very curious because my highest wave across all 3 was 48, and that was on the N64. So please let me know in the comments, have any of you beat this game? But I'd like to thank you all for watching. I'm really glad you guys are digging what I'm doing here, it means a lot to me. But I'm out for now, so have yourself a wonderful day.
You